Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm going to do another reaction. This one is a little bit different. It is a follow-up to my reaction to Led Zeppelin's You Shook Me a couple of days ago. In the body of that, I was saying that I was going to do a reaction and a follow-up to a spotlight for John Bonham. It's entitled, What Makes John Bonham Such a Great Drummer? So I think it's a breakdown analysis of his abilities and his skills. So I definitely want to check this out. So let's get it.
Led Zeppelin stormed onto the music scene in 1968. Their raucous take on rock and roll redefined the genre and made them the biggest band on earth for the better part of a decade. Though every member of the band was musically gifted, there was one who laid down a rock-solid foundation for the group to grow on.
1968.
Ask anyone in the band where their powerful sound came from, and they'd all give you the same answer. Drummer John Bonham. Let's take a look at what made Bonzo such a force behind a drum kit.
Polyphonic.
What you just heard is the intro to Good Times, Bad Times, the opening track to Led Zeppelin's debut album. For most of the world, this song was their introduction to John Bonham, and from the first listen, his style was evident. Listen to the bass drum throughout the song. Instead of playing the bass clean on every beat, Bonham accents the beat with triplets, which spices up the rhythm. A triplet is a grouping of 3 notes played within the length usually assigned to 1. Let's give it a listen.
Now I've reached that age, I've tried to do all those things the best I can.
See how he adds flair to the drum beat by breaking up the rhythm with these triplets? This kind of groove isn't new, mind you. Bonham was heavily influenced by jazz musicians like Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich. It's just that not many drummers had applied this to a rock context until Bonham came
I've heard
along.
of Buddy Rich.
Let's give a listen to Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. This track was released in 1964, 4 years before Zeppelin hit the scene. Hear how this drum beat is tight and on top of the beat, giving the song a kind of steady urgency. Now let's compare that to a John Bonham beat. Check out Heartbreaker.
Heartbreaker.
Notice how Bonham plays
that's
around with his
Heartbreaker.
bass drum, throwing in little accents and just changing the flow of the bar. It's this kind of laid-back rhythm that really helps the band gel with each other and get into a particular kind of groove. Bonham got the idea for these syncopated grooves by listening to a lot of funk music, especially James Brown. This kind of drumming is impressive enough on its own, but to truly appreciate John Bonham's greatness, we need to look at the way that he worked with his band. Ron Nevison was an engineer who worked on several Zeppelin albums. He said that part of what made the band work so well was the way that Bonzo played along with guitarist Jimmy Page. The essence to me of the whole Zeppelin thing was John Bonham following the guitar. He would take the riff and he would make that his drum
Listen to
part.
that sound, man.
Instead of just doing it 4/4
It
and
just
getting with the
drops.
bass player, he got in with the guitar player. Getting in with the guitar riff helps tighten up and energize Led
Yeah.
Zeppelin's sound. Listen for it here in the
He
Immigrant
followed
song.
the guitar. That's right.
And here it is again in the Wonton
Yeah, I
song.
know this one.
This time a little more complicated. And we'll give you one more example with When the Levee Breaks. Listen to how Bonham stays tight with Page even when the song changes its phrasing.
When the levee breaks.
Did you
This
hear
is
it?
the song you guys
This
want
kind
me
of
to react
chemistry
to. So
between
many
the
of
band
you.
becomes especially important when they move towards more complex pieces of music.
When the levee
Let's look
breaks.
at Kashmir, for example, one of the band's most iconic songs. So, the drum beat of this song is in 4/4 time, meaning that there are 4 beats to a bar, and a quarter note is worth 1 beat. 4/4 time is a pretty standard time signature used in a lot of music, especially rock. However, on top of Bonham's steady 4/4 time, the string and guitar are playing in a 3/4 feel, meaning that there's only 3 beats to each phrase. As a result, the drum and string phrases only sync up on the strong beat once every 12 beats. Let's give it a listen.
Kashmir.
By mixing the time signatures,
Yo.
Zeppelin add a kind of tension to the
I know
song,
this.
and it really meshes well with the intense
Kashmir.
feeling of the escalating strings. In order to do these kind of time signature tricks, the band needs to be rock solid with their rhythm, which comes from Bonham. This relationship is pushed to its limits in Black Dog. The song is an acrobatic exercise in time signatures and phrasing, but it keeps a steady rock feel throughout,
I know
thanks
Black
to
Dog.
Bonham. One of the most interesting parts of the song is the pre-chorus. In this section, the guitar and bass riffs actually move by half a beat with each repetition. The band is effectively playing in 9/8 time over Bonham's 4/4 drums, but you wouldn't know it without a close inspection. Listen to the way that the guitar hook moves around the drum beat, never matching up in the same part of the bar. Did you hear the way that the guitar and bass became out of sync with the drums? It can almost sound sloppy if you don't realize that every member of the band is working meticulously as a tight unit to create this. John Paul Jones called the kind of feeling that it creates a stomp groove, and this kind of groove can't exist without Bonham locking down the beat. With a less steady
Stomp
drummer,
groove.
this breakdown could have easily fallen into chaos. So let's look at one more drum piece. Fool in the Rain is hands down my favorite Bonham beat, and it's absolutely incredible. There's a lot going on in this beat, so let's see if we can't
in the
break it
Rain.
down. So first of all, the beat is polyrhythmic, meaning that there are 2 different rhythms happening simultaneously. One of the rhythms comes from the hi-hat, where Bonham lays down steady triplets, opening and closing the hats for emphasis on certain notes. He complements this with ghost notes on the snare, notes that are barely audible and more meant to provide a feel to the song than anything else. Beneath this comes the second rhythm, where Bonzo plays a swung halftime shuffle on his bass and snare. As if the beat wasn't enough, the piano and guitar lines are playing in 12/8 time over the 4/4 beat. This gives a syncopated triplet feel to the song that's impossible not to get with. Let's give it a listen. John Bonham was a truly one-of-a-kind drummer, and his steady foundation helped Led Zeppelin do incredible things musically. Even in this video, I've only begun
song
to
had a
scratch the
reggae
surface of what made him such a great drummer. So next time you're spinning Zeppelin, listen a little closer to the drum kit.
That's a reggae song, man. This is a reggae tune. Fool in the Rain. Wow, man. That was cool as hell. Wow. What a complete great dissection of his skills. Mind you, I didn't understand half of it, breakdown wise, the technical approach to drumming and all that, and I'm going to trust that this guy knows what he's talking about, and I'm sure that you guys are going to confirm for me that this guy does know what he's on, that what he's talking about, and that he's on it. But I really like that, man. That was impressive. Get this off, get rid of that echo in my ear. Wow. That was awesome. That was really awesome, man. Thanks, first off, man, before I totally forget, thanks for all of you who recommended this to me. There was a number of you who suggested that I react to this and kind of like do a reaction in behind of one of his really good songs, namely his drum solo. But I looked at the length of the drum solo. It's like 20 minutes, man. And then on top of that, this is 10 minutes. And then on top of that would be kind of like my little breakdown, which is a decent 15 minutes. If I'm really, really excited and intrigued with something, I could talk a little longer. So I saw this whole thing getting a little bit too long. You know what I mean? I like to keep my reactions to at least within the vicinity of half an hour. Ideally 20-25 minutes is probably the best. But in any case, man, this was excellent. So structure wise, I think what I'll do is I'll take this reaction and I'll mix it with my Wikipedia song facts and comments about John Bonham and Led Zeppelin and merge it together. So we're probably looking at a decent 20 to 25 minutes or so. This was excellent, man. So first off, shout out to Polyphonic. That was an excellent presentation. And, you know, just coming in green into Led Zeppelin like I am, I really have a deeper appreciation, not just for the band, but also for this guy, John Bonham, man. You know, sad that he passed so young. He was only like 31. And to think of all the music that they could have produced had he stuck around. But I completely understand now why Led Zeppelin could not go on without him. You know, just by watching this alone is enough reason for me to understand why. But anyway, man, oh, by the way, I wrote a couple of notes down. So I just got a taste of some of these tunes. Now I can kind of match the requests to some of these tunes. Heartbreaker, the Wonton Song, When the Levee Breaks, Kashmir, and Fool in the Rain. I did a reaction already to Good Times, Bad Times. I heard that in the beginning. But these other songs, these five, out of these five, I recognize Kashmir. I recognize it from a couple of places. One, background music playing at parties some of my friends threw. But I've never heard it in its entirety because I wasn't sitting there just listening to it from beginning to end. But I'm familiar with it. I also know Kashmir from, this is kind of like on my side of the fence a little bit, when I was into Puff Daddy, and he did a cover called Come With Me. And it was from the Godzilla soundtrack a couple of years ago. And if I remember correctly now, going back in my mind's eye, Jimmy Page was a featured guitarist in that video. And man, was that ever a video. It had like a whole orchestra. Everybody was decked out in white, and it was quite a production. I remember that. So now going back in time, that was Jimmy Page that I was looking at, because the camera just kept zooming his way. And I thought to myself, yeah, this guy's got to be a big deal if they're going to be pushing so much spotlight on him. But now I understand why. That was Jimmy Page. So I know Kashmir from Background Noise at a Party, but also from the remake that Puff Daddy did, Come With Me. Hey, Puff, P. Diddy now that he's called, or just Diddy now. Yo, I love you, man, but your rendition doesn't touch the original, I gotta say. And you know what? I'm gonna do a full reaction to this, because I've never heard this song in its entirety, and I'm gonna get to it. But the other songs too, man. Fool in the Rain, it's a reggae song. I can get with that. My dad is gonna really trip when he hears that. I'm gonna play that for my dad. Fool in the Rain, reggae. Okay, man, so let's just get into John Bonham just a little bit more. I'm just gonna bring up my Wikipedia song facts here and just get into the man behind the music and that great sound. So John Bonham, yeah, there we go. So John Bonham, John Henry Bonham, born 31st of May 1948 to the 25th of September 1980, was an English musician and songwriter, best known as the drummer for British rock band Led Zeppelin. Bonham was esteemed for his speed, power, fast bass drumming, distinctive sound, and feel for the groove. He is regarded by many as the greatest and most influential rock drummer in history. Rolling Stone magazine ranked him number 1 in their list of the 100 greatest drummers of all time. Man, oh man. That is a complete feat in itself. You don't need any other awards or accolades, just that recognition alone, right there. So, early years. John Henry Bonham was born in Redditch, Worcestershire, England, to Joan and Jack Bonham. He began learning to play at 5, making a kit of containers and coffee tins, imitating his idols Max Roach, Gene Krupa, and Buddy Rich. His mother gave him a snare drum when he was 10. He received his first drum kit from his father at age 15, a Premier percussion set. Bonham never took formal drum lessons, though as a teen he had advice from other Redditch drummers. John attended Lodge Farm Secondary Modern School, where his headmaster wrote in his report card that he will either end up a dustman or a millionaire. In 1964, Bonham took up drumming full-time. He joined a blues group called Crawling King Snakes, whose lead singer was Robert Plant. Plant went on to form Band of Joy and chose Bonham as the drummer. The band recorded demos, but no albums. Okay, scrolling down here. Led Zeppelin. After the retirement of the Yardbirds, guitarist Jimmy Page formed another band and recruited Plant, who in turn suggested John Bonham. Page's choice for drummer included Procol Harum's B.J. Wilson and Paul Francis. However, on seeing Bonham drum for Tim Rose in Hampstead in July 1968, Page and manager Peter Grant were convinced he was perfect for the project, first known as the New Yardbirds and later as Led Zeppelin. At first, Bonham was reluctant. Plant sent 8 telegrams to Bonham's pub, which were followed by 40 telegrams from Grant. Man, this guy, Peter Grant, he's quite a go-getter, eh? Bonham was also receiving offers from Joe Cocker and Chris Farlowe, but he accepted Grant's offer. He recalled, "I decided I liked their music better than Cocker's or Farlowe's." Okay. Forgive my ignorance, but let me know who Chris Farlowe is, will you? Yeah, as well, I heard one of my buddies was saying that Bonham was a drummer at some sort of jazz bar and that he had a falling out with the owner. And the owner said something in passing to him like, go back to what you were doing before, I don't know what it was, doing some sort of manual job, because you'll never amount to much as a drummer. And later when, I guess, Bonham made it big, he sent that club owner a telegram or something along those lines. Let me know if that's true. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm missing some information. I just kind of heard that in passing somewhere. Okay, Bonham's versatility and rhythmic diversity was not always appreciated by critics. However, in a 1975 Rolling Stone review of Physical Graffiti, Jimmy Miller wrote, I quote, "Bonham is a steak and potatoes percussionist, hand-picked, one assumes, for his ability to supply a plodding, rock-solid bottom. No one has ever accused Led Zeppelin of swinging." All right. During Led Zeppelin's first tour of the United States in December 1968, Bonham became friends with Vanilla Fudge's drummer Carmine Appice. Appice introduced him to Ludwig drums, which he then used for the rest of his career. I've got to check out Vanilla Fudge. I've been getting quite a few requests for that. Let me know which song I should check out for Vanilla Fudge. Bonham used the longest and heaviest sticks, which he called trees. His hard hitting was evident on many Led Zeppelin songs. Trees. Okay. His drum solo, first entitled Pat's Delight, later named Moby's Dick, His drum solo, first entitled Pat's Delight, later Moby Dick, often lasted 20 minutes. He used bare hands for different sounds. Bonham's sequence for the film, The Song Remains the Same, featured him in a drag race to the sound of his solo. I've still yet to watch that movie, The Song Remains the Same. In Led Zeppelin tours after 1969, Bonham included congas, orchestral timpani, and a symphonic gong. Okay. Friend facts. Bonham was the best man of Black Sabbath's Tony Iommi at his wedding ceremony. He keeps good company and he's friends with every member of the Beatles. Legacy, awards, and accolades. Bonham has been described by AllMusic as one of the most important, well-known, and influential drummers in rock. Bonham was ranked number 1 on Classic Rock's 2005 list of the 50 greatest drummers in rock. Modern Drummer describes him as the greatest rock and roll drummer in history. Adam Badowski, managing editor of Modern Drummer, writes, quote, "If the king of rock and roll was Elvis Presley, then the king of rock drumming was certainly John Bonham," unquote. Led Zeppelin are widely considered one of the most successful, innovative, and influential rock groups. They are one of the best-selling music artists in the history of audio recording. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1995. The museum's biography of the band states that they were as influential during the 1970s as the Beatles were during the 1960s. Okay, and that is Wikipedia song facts on John Bonham and his merging with Led Zeppelin. Okay, so man, I just wanted to go back and give a shout out once again to Polyphonic. That was a great video, man. And even though I don't know a damn thing about music and drumming, that breakdown was very understandable. I didn't understand the technical essence of notes and drumming and whatnot, but I trust that you know what you're talking about. And I'm sure that a lot of you in the comments are going to back up what this video said about John Bonham and his style and his abilities. So yeah, I really enjoyed the hell out of that. And I got myself a list here of little bits of pieces of songs that I heard that sounds intriguing as hell, man. Heartbreaker, the Wonton song, When the Levee Breaks. That's a really, really big request, that one. Cashmere and Fool in the Rain. The reggae one I gotta play for my dad. Alright. So I'm gonna do requests for all of those eventually. But you know what? I should actually, I left a note here for myself, but I'll talk about this right now. I want to give you guys an update on how my whole Led Zeppelin rabbit hole journey is going, man. Because I've had so many requests for Led Zeppelin, literally since I reacted to Since I've Been Loving You and then the other Led Zeppelin tracks that followed after, the requests and the comments and just the response and everything has just quadrupled. And it's at a point now where I'm really overwhelmed with the amount of requests. And it seems like there's just so many songs. So I realize now that it isn't just a matter of me doing a superset and then moving on. Stupid ass assumptions. I initially, when I started, thought that, okay, I'm going to, when I get to these super groups, I'm going to do, like, for example, with Led Zeppelin, I'm going to do, a superset of their back catalog of stuff that I don't know, and then I'll just move on. So I had it in my mind it would be maybe 3 to 5 songs and then I'd be done. But yo, man, from what you're telling me and now looking into it further, 9 albums and 150 songs, and what I've been getting from you is that like 99% of this catalog is worth knowing. 99% of these songs is worth knowing. So I realize now that I've got to make some time to do reactions to a lot of them. Maybe not all of them, but definitely a majority of it. But I've got to go through the entire Led Zeppelin catalog to really get to understand them. And it's going to take some time. I'm also doing it so that I can uncover a lot of their signature blues remakes, because they've supposedly done a tremendous amount of remakes of blues. And these blues songs I'm starting to recognize. I recognize certain verbs, certain passages, certain beats, and it takes me back to my dad's old blues collections. Takes me back to some of these things that it's familiar to me when I was a kid. So it's a personal intrigue on my part too, to go through the whole catalog. But I think structurally what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it just from the beginning, man. I mean, I can bounce all over the place, but I think that I'll leave spaces, and it won't be complete. So I think to really, personally for me, do it right, I have to start from the beginning. I see your requests, and it's going to take me a while to get to them, but I think I'm just going to have to, for me personally, start from the beginning, starting with the first song, the first album, and just work my way all the way so I don't miss a thing, so I don't miss much. I owe it to myself to do that. You know, of course, I have to keep in mind your request too, but this is a personal thing for me. I owe it to myself to start from the beginning with Led Zeppelin and work my way all the way to the end. Now, having said all of that though, there are some exceptions, and I believe that the exception would be if you guys want me to react to something that's like a live version. For example, going back to Since I've Been Loving You, that was the studio. A number of you mentioned, hey man, you should have reacted to the live version. So you know what? I will do a reaction to the live version as well. You know, I consider them to be two separate entities. A live performance is never the same as a studio. So I'll make an exception for that because I know that there's some songs in that soundtrack, the movie, the sound remains the same that I've got to do. So I'll probably do those reactions alongside of my reactions to their studio stuff. So I'll be jumping ahead a little bit sometimes, but not so much. I'm mainly going to be focused on just going through song by song, album by album. It's the only way that I can really feel that I'm really absorbing everything and not missing a thing, you know? So I ask you for a little bit of patience. Eventually I will get to your song of choice, but know that this is the method of my madness. This is what I'm going to be doing starting now, just basically starting from album 1 and then going to album 2 and then so on, right? There's so many songs, man. There's just the body of this work, this iceberg is just so huge. I didn't account for this in my plans when I started. But you know, this format and this structural approach, it's going to help me when I get to other supergroups like Rush and Pink Floyd, you know. So I'm going to nail this structured approach down, and then it's going to help to keep me from being confused, bewildered, and overwhelmed, right? You know, I don't want to get lost. So just so you know what I'm going to do. And I'll take time out to do things like this, like, you know, react to this example with Bonzo and other things like that along the way. I'll still do my reactions to my anti-war and some other stuff. But Led Zeppelin, I think, is going to be primarily the first supergroup along my journey. And then I'm going to follow this same format with other supergroups along the way, you know. So just an update of what I'm up to. Man, these songs that I wrote down are tripping me out. My mind keeps going back to them. My dad is going to trip out when I play this stuff. Speaking of Led Zeppelin tunes, I can't find Hammer of the Gods anywhere. I've been looking and I can't find it. So was that kind of like a private recording? Was that just like a specialty song for some sort of promotion or some soundtrack or something? Because I can't find that song anywhere, man. So let me know where to look. If you got a link, please send it to me, because I've been looking for it and I can't find Hammer of the Gods anywhere. I think it's like a follow-up to Immigrant Song. And just like I know Heartbreaker has a follow-up song to it as well, and that you have to play it in tandem. My friend told me that. He said he said in a very, very funny but threatening way, you know, don't you dare play Heartbreaker without playing the next song after it. So I wrote that note down. And I've been told by a lot of you as well that when I reacted to You Shook Me, I should have went into the next song immediately after that. So there are some songs that are tied in together. So I'll try my best to remember that and make sure that I include those tie-ins in the future. It's just my ignorance again. Yeah, what else, man? Let me just see here if I left any notes for myself. You see, I write these things out sometimes weeks in advance, and then I have to leave these notes. So, yeah, man, the most important thing I wanted to talk about really was the structure of how I'm going to approach my Led Zeppelin reactions, just to keep myself organized and not get lost and bewildered. Yeah, and thanks again for all of those of you who recommended this to me. I really appreciate it. Polyphonic, this is a great video, man. And I feel like I know a little bit more about John Bonham and Led Zeppelin. Have a deeper appreciation for them already. Where am I? 4 songs in? Well, 5 now. I consider this kind of like another body of a reaction, and it's still helping to edify and teach me something. So I'll consider this a 5th reaction for Led Zeppelin. So yeah, man, thank you very much for all of those of you who recommended that I check this out. I appreciate it very much. Anyway, that's it, man. I don't want to talk any longer because I'm excited, and when I'm excited, I talk a long time. But I'm going to shut up now. And thanks again. Let me know what your requests are. And as well, man, update me about that song, Hammer of the Gods. I really got to find it. Also, as well, about Vanilla Fudge. I guess they were really good friends. They were tight with Led Zeppelin. So let me know what I should check out where Vanilla Fudge is concerned. I imagine their sound is very similar, so that'll be very interesting as well. Anyway, man, thank you very much. Have yourselves a good day, and I'll catch you in another reaction. Peace.